Okay, meeting with clients part two. Um, Fees. What we actually discuss with them in terms of fees is very important, obviously. Now, first of all, you should never discuss fees until they're sold. So, in other words, although you should always discuss fees while they're with you, so they shouldn't go away not understanding what the fees are. But basically, you want to sell them the benefits of using our services. Now, usually they're pretty much sold already because nobody else will help them, and if they don't do anything, the bank's going to sell their house for a fraction of what it's worth, and they're going to lose hundreds of thousands, if not millions. So, first of all, you must point that out to them. That's what's going to happen if they don't do something. But they must understand basically what you're going to do for them. We're going to discuss that under each separate category. So if it's a summary judgment, what you do in a summary judgment case, what you explain to them. But you've got to explain that first before we discuss fees. So once you've got them, they understand. Okay, this is what's going to happen. We're going to file these papers. Then this is going to happen, and hopefully we'll get you another 6 months or a year, and you can pay off your arrears. Once that's all explained, then you go in and discuss fees. Right. And there's a number of things that you must always discuss with them before, or tell them before they discuss fees. First of all, most lawyers won't help you to sue a bank or defend yourself against a bank because they do conveyancing work for the banks and they've signed something to say they won't. So that's the first thing. 4 out of 5 lawyers will not help you no matter what. And mostly they come to us with that information. They look forever to try and find someone. Of the 1 in 5 people that do, most of them don't have the expertise. They don't do this all the time like we do. That's the second thing. Thirdly, most of them will then say, okay, we will help you. Even if they don't have the expertise, they'll tell you this. But put down 50 to 75,000 and then they'll come back and ask you for more when they run out. Third thing, you must always tell the clients all these things because they're all true and it affects their perception of our value. They understand that what we're offering them a good deal. And then you say, we only charge 35,000 if you want to pay it up, or 25,000 if you pay it up front. So if they pay one payment, it's 25,000. This is for most things. It's some things might be different, but this is for the vast majority. If it's very complicated or very different, then don't quote them before you've asked me. If they pay it up, they pay 7,000 rand a month for 5 months, um, or they can pay 5,000 rand a month for 8 months. And these are as of now. Payments in the past have been different, so just bear that in mind. They say, well, you quoted me less in the past. Okay, we'll honour what we quoted them usually. But these are the normal rates for now. So if they pay 5k a month for 8 months, then that's obviously 40k. So they're better paying 7k a month for 5 months, and then it's only 35k. Now you've also got to tell them, and this is very important, before we go to court, they need to have already paid 15k. So if it's something like a summary judgment where it's going to come up in a month, there's no point in them signing up to pay 7k a month because by the time the court case comes up, they'll have to have paid 15k anyway. Or if it's in Port Pietermaritzburg or Cape Town or something, then they'll have to pay 20k. So they might as well just pay the 25k, and then they've saved themselves some money. If it's a selling for too little, it's fine. They can pay it up gradually because it's not likely to come before court for a while. But then ask them when they're going to make the first payment because that's when they're really. You've always got to ask that and put that in the notes. Well, first of all, you ask them, would you rather pay it up or would you rather make a once-off payment? Don't ask them, do you want to go ahead? Ask them which they want to do. Assume that they're going to go ahead. They'll soon tell you if they don't want to. But they'll say, yeah, I'll probably. They might say we'll need to think about it. We'll say, but if you were going to go ahead, would you probably do this one or this one? The other deal that I forgot to mention is that if they say they make their first payment of 7,000 now, because we always want them to make a payment now, like in the first week, whatever it is, 7,000, 5,000, whatever. Then if they want, they can then come back any time in the first month before the next payment's due and pay the rest of the 25k. So they only have to pay that. That still counts as a once-off payment. So that's also important. So they don't have to decide. They can pay 7k now and then 18k within the first month, and it still counts as the 25. They only have to pay 25 and not 35. So that's important. Now, what does that include? That includes drafting and appearing in court for that case if if we need to go to court. If we manage to settle it, if we manage to negotiate with the other side and come to an amicable arrangement, the fee is exactly the same. It doesn't include any other cases that might come up. So say we're defending them against a summary judgment and then they get an eviction. And eviction's a separate thing. We charge separately for that. And it doesn't, or urgent interdicts or anything like that. It doesn't include obviously getting, it doesn't mean just because they've paid their first £5,000 they can phone me every day or night or whatever. Usually they deal with my assistants. And yeah, so mostly by email we deal. We don't really deal so much on the phone. So don't give the impression that they'll get instant access 100% of the time to phoning me. Encourage them to contact us by email. Don't encourage them to phone me. You can email them payment details at this stage, where they're actually going to pay it to. In many cases, right. Say if they really can't afford it, then ask them what they earn, what their assets are. Sometimes people will say, "Can we do it entirely on contingency?" In other words, can they just pay a percentage if we win? Or maybe that they'll say, "Will the bank not pay this if we win?" And the answer to all these questions is, the bank, if we win, the bank will pay costs. But we don't do anything we don't, almost never, but now and again. But mostly we don't do things entirely on contingency because we need some money to run the practice in the meantime. So what we're charging is very little. For selling for 2 littles, we also take contingency, so that's 25% of whatever they gain minus what they've paid already. So if they pay us 35,000 and then we get 25% of say $1 million, then that will be 250,000 that we'll get, minus the 35,000 they've already paid, so it will be 215,000, that kind of thing. But I think if we manage to get £1 million settlement from the bank, then everybody's going to be very happy. Nobody's going to be very concerned about the fees. But most of the time, it's not on contingency; it's just fees. But if they can't pay the arrangements, like if we do get people that say, "Well, we're earning £7,000 a month, we can't afford to pay £7,000 a month," then take all this down, their assets, and sometimes we won't. If it's something that we're going to have to go to court, then we may not be able to help them. In which case, you go into Zoho and you put in the contacts category the status. Status would go to scope but no funds. So there's a case for them, but they've got no funds. If they say they wanted to, if they're waiting, they want to think about it, you change it to waiting to go ahead. If they go ahead, then it's allocated to someone, and the initial allocation would be you. So you go in there and you'd pick your name. It might not be in there at the moment. And if you're talking to the client, you're the one that it's allocated to. Later on, you might, if they don't get back to you, you might allocate it to Sam so that she can chase it up. The other important things to fill in when you're with the client at this stage is the closest city, Cape Town, Joburg, Pretoria, Durban, etc. The work status, do we need to do stuff? Right, so the no work needing done, initial work up till filing needing done, responding to opponents, all that should go in. Then you need, once you've made a payment arrangement, you need to create an invoice. So you then need to say yes, you've created the invoice on Zoho. Payment status. Contract signed, nothing signed or agreed, no payment made. So at the end of the thing, if they've not signed a contract, they've not made a payment, then this is what you click. If you do the contract but no payment made yet, then you can also click that. Also in contract status, you also click that. If they signed the contract, you can say that they've signed the contract. You must fill all these things in, otherwise we lose track. Fee agreement signed, contract discussed, not signed, because you can show them the contract in the course of this and say this is what you would sign when you're discussing payment. Actually, just assume they say, just go, okay, if you want to go ahead, just sign here, and give them the contract and give them time to read it if they want. If they have any questions, then answer them. Right, if they don't say they can't afford it, then don't prompt it. Don't say, can you afford this? Maybe we can make a plan. Don't say that. Because we don't want 100 people waiting for plans. Most people we want just to sign up normally. Sometimes with things like rescissions, we can charge them. If they really are having problems, we can charge them just for filing the documents, and later on we file them for going to court. But don't say that. Just only if there's a problem. Usually talk to me about it. And if it's not standard, we need to see their pay statement. It would be best if we saw some proof that they really don't have any money, their income. And we very rarely do things entirely on contingency. Now and again, if somebody's really poor, we might do this selling for too little. Entirely on well, even then we wouldn't do it on contingency. We still have to charge them 5,000 because we have expenses. And if they say, look, I'll give you 50% of contingency, we can't do that because law says what we must do. With this, FTLs just continue to fill things in, even if you think they're not going to be able to afford it. So here's we fill in scope but no money on Zoho. And then we can maybe come back to all the people that don't have any money later and make a plan to do it all together or something. But we definitely can't go to court for people that can't pay fees, because going to court usually takes a whole day, and I have limited time. We're already offering things for cheap. We've got to focus on people that can pay our fees because they're not unreasonable. Be aware that there's a lot of people out there that just prefer to pay less. And when we win cases for those that can pay, it also helps those who can't, because it makes the banks behave differently. Okay.